Okay, we are live. Okay, guys. So welcome to another wonderful video broadcast by yours truly here, Max Uhas from lifeafterartschool.net and smashergoals.com. And I got my buddy here, a good friend of mine, Mr. Rocky Vega, who that's not his real name, but that's his. What would you call it, Rocky?
It's a stage name.
That's your stage name. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
technically, it's a stage name. That's what it originated as. But at this point, it's basically like my professional, my professional marketing name.
yeah, I think that's what everybody knows you as, right?
Yeah.
More or less. But yeah, basically, guys, we're going to talk about because I know I've had a lot of people hitting me up on basically like a lot of different subjects, from like how to get clients, how to grow your business, how to sell your art, how to market yourself, how do you sell in general, and besides that, like how to actually. I think one of the biggest obstacles for most artists is actually learning how to sell themselves and make a living doing what they love. And there are a lot of creative people out there who do a lot of great work who don't know how to market. And I was fortunate enough to meet Rocky. It's been a little over a year now. Actually, I met Rocky online.
Yeah, it's going on 2 years actually.
Yeah, it is going on 2 years now, actually. But I was fortunate enough to meet Rocky online, and we connected. We met at a couple different events and things going on. And I know this. I've seen some amazing results from Rocky, from his business, from from his graphic design business, because Rocky does graphic design work. You do some T-shirts. You do. I know you do some custom designs. You do blog designs. What else do you do? Am I leaving anything out, or?
Brand consultation.
Brand consultation. That's right, which is very important, because a lot of people don't know that. You actually, when you start selling online and when you start marketing yourself, like, you are a brand, and what you do and how you do it makes you stand out from the crowd. So,
right.
Yeah. So how do we want to kick this off? You want to tell a little something about yourself, or should I just start hitting you with some questions and we can kind of go back and forth?
Well, I guess I'll tell just a little bit, just so we can we can get more to the meat and potatoes of why everyone's watching this. My name's Corey. My legal name, Rocky Vega, is a name that got created about, let me see, about 5 years ago now. It was late 2010. Hold on a second. I gotta pause my antivirus real quick because I don't want it to slow things down. Okay. Yeah, the name Rocky Vega actually got created, I think, about actually no, about 2011. 2010 was the start of a music project with a friend of mine, and I needed a stage name, and Rocky Vega, that name got created somewhere around early 2011, after we had started the project around October 2010. And around the time when we had met, I was pretty much just trying to get that name out there, trying to get that name synonymous with me. So, it was on my Facebook profiles. It was pretty much just my online identity. And I've just been running with it since. And then everybody always tells me, that Rocky Vega is just kind of more memorable than my legal name. So, I say, yeah, you're right. That's why I chose it. And I just stuck with it because of that. But I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. I just turned 30 years old last year in 2015. I don't look like it from what I've been told, but yeah, I hit the dirty 30 officially. Yeah, I've been doing graphic design on and off for about 10 years. probably a little more than 10 years actually, but more consistently over the last year and a half. Really more since just a little bit before when you and I met actually, is when I started to do design more consistently. I'm really into art, design, music, and gaming. I'm also a martial artist, and I'm a father of one beautiful little girl who just turned 4 years old. Um, that's I think that that's good enough for now, though. That gives a good gist of who I am, what I do, what I'm into.
And you're also a diehard anime Dragon Ball Z fanatic.
I used to be bigger into anime when I was younger. I do still like anime. I just haven't watched anime on a regular like I used to. But I definitely had my phase where I was crazy into anime. Just anime all day. I even had like when I was 16, I actually I had a job for the summer, and my mom actually got really pissed off at me once because when I got my first check, I spent damn near the entire thing on anime DVD sets. Like I bought Bubblegum Crisis, Blue Seed, and like one or two others. Generator Gall was another one. And like I bought like all these with pretty much my entire check, and these were a lot more expensive back then too. Because when I was 16, this is like when DVDs were still kind of young, not Blu-ray, but just the original DVD.
They were charging Blu-ray prices, so like
yeah, exactly. Right. So so to buy like an entire series of a TV show, that would run you at least like 80 to $100, sometimes even like 130, depending on what it was.
Yep.
But yeah, I had my phase. I do still love anime. There are some that I've been meaning to watch, but I don't know if I'd say I'm diehard anymore, though. I am a diehard gamer, though. I don't think gaming will ever leave my blood.
Nope.
I'm actually surprised. Like, I'm surprised my daughter wasn't born with a controller in her hand.
Right on. Yeah, well, I just remember when we first met, you were just getting your pretty much like your graphic design business off the ground, and I know that I would because we met, guys, and I'll just kind of pre-frame this. We met through an online training, like basically an online marketing company where we were learning how to market, how to sell stuff online, how to brand ourselves, how to whatever. And it's funny, there's a good group of us that all kind of met like right around the same time. And what's funny is that some of us like really took it and ran with it, and some of the group are still kind of like in which is pretty common for a lot of people. It's they're in constant learn mode. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I need to learn more. I need to learn more, and I need to learn more. And even though they know like basically everything that they need to be as successful as they want, they're still in like learn mode where like it's the analysis paralysis, like over procrastination of just like I trying to figure out the mystical magical secret of like how to do something, you know what I mean, rather than just realizing that all it really takes is just putting things into action. I know myself, it's like when you're whether you're just like first starting out or whatever, it's like you've got to get out there and you got to connect with people. You got to reach out to people, and you got to basically like take the risk of being rejected. Because it's almost like it was one of the things that I learned just doing sales a lot of times. It was like we were always taught it's like every no brings you closer to a yes, right? And it's like every person you connect with and every person that you're talking to, and whether it's online, whether it's offline, whether it's through your marketing or whatever, it's like they may not buy from you today, but it's like if you leave a good impression and you leave um, just like a good memory. You know what I mean? It's like first impressions are lasting impressions, and it's like, and if you leave an impact with somebody, it's like even if they don't do business with you today, you know what I mean? Like they may be the person that recommends you to somebody else, or like, or you know, it could be 3 months, 6 months, a year down the line. You know, maybe like, hey man, listen, I'm ready to get some work done. I'm ready to do some stuff. You know, and yeah, I know that's a good majority of my career is like it's relationship building. You know, it's not about making the initial sale today. Sometimes it's about, obviously it's like you want money and you want to make sales and you want to do sales, but sometimes but realistically it's about how you sell yourself. You know, it's about how you sell yourself, sell your brand really. You know, because you don't want to be known as the pushy guy that's like, if you're not buying from me today, go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like you got to build some type of rapport, and you've got to be able to build trust with people for them to do business with you. You know, and then basically, and I know this in Rocky's case, we were chatting before we went live, and I was just like, so how do you just like kick the shit out of everybody? Because let's just put it this way, Rocky does a lot of graphic design, and I'm sure Rocky we'll talk about this more, but like Rocky does a lot of graphic design work, and I don't know about you guys, but like I know this is like when it comes to graphic design services online, like you got really super high end, and then you've got dirt cheap, low Fiverr crap, you know, and the rebuttal that you're going to get from a lot of people. And I know you deal with this all the time, right? So, well, I can get shit done on Fiverr. You know, I can go around Fiverr. I can buy this on online for $1. You know what I mean? I can get this. There's always going to be discount guys. You know, there's always going to be discount people that do discount work. And what you got to realize is like a lot of times is like when people pay for discount work, like I don't know. Me personally, I don't want to deal with discount people. You know what I mean? I know, and a lot of times like you know, like people eventually just end up getting burnt by discount people. You know, to the point where you know if once they learn, they'll come around. But it's like you got to figure out because you're not cheap, man. Your services, you know, are not cheap. You know, for what you charge. I know what's the base rate for what you charge for something? For design
Well,
work?
it really depends on what you want. The most common stuff I get asked to do is stuff like either a logo or maybe like a social media banner, like something for Facebook usually, because everybody's on Facebook. Those usually start at 75 bucks, and they might go as high as 100. It's not really too bad.
Right.
Um, and you know, like I'm definitely not as cheap as something like Fiverr, but I'm not like off the wall high either. Like there's a guy who I've seen who charged like 500 bucks for one Facebook banner. I'm just like, dude, like that's just like robbery. Like that's a bit much. And then it's like he's not even doing anything in particular that I can't do either. It's just like, okay, like I get you should be paid for your time, this, that, or whatever, but bro, like that's absurd. Like for what you're giving,
Well,
like
here's the thing. Are people paying him $500 for Facebook banners though?
they have.
Jesus.
Yeah, they have. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I understand um, full well the concept of being paid what you're worth, and I do think that people should be paid well. But at the same time, like I can't justify that. I cannot justify that, especially not for that level of work. Um,
Right.
but um, but yeah, usually like a logo or social media banner, you know, will run for like 75 to 100 bucks for me. Um, some people who really want to get themselves branded, just pretty much like all out. If they get like a complete blog design, now keep in mind, just as a disclaimer, I'm not a web programmer. I can do web design, but usually when people come to me for a blog design, it's because they want images in particular places. You know, with a blog, you usually have like a header image and you have banner ads on the side, something that might help somebody get leads for, you know, their readers. And you might have like a bottom banner. You might have like a graphic that pops up. as a light box, those are the kind of things that I tend to do. And that's pretty much like when I get asked for that package, that's pretty much like an entire branding package just about, because the process that goes into there is usually it's not even just like designing just like a little header or banner for you. I'm literally taking just taking information that you give me based off some questions that I ask, and I create your brand for you. So you get like a personal logo, you get you get like an entire color scheme that becomes synonymous with you and your brand. Like if you take me, for example, a lot of people who are familiar with my brand, they're familiar with it because of a number of different things. Some of those things are because of the kind of clothes that I wear. Nothing that I'm wearing right now, because I'm just in just a red t-shirt and a black collared shirt. But just the usual stuff, like, normally people see me wearing something like a flashy ski jacket, or like, I have like a yellow and black Bruce Lee style jacket made out of leather. I'm usually like just kind of this flashy jacket with motorcycle looking gloves kind of dude. It's just my look, and I had, and I'm sure you remember, I had a really distinct pair of white frame sunglasses back when things first got rolling, but they broke, and I've never been able to find another pair like them. So, it's just like, it's one of those elements that just kind of had to get tossed out. But even still, it's one that, that people remembered. They remembered greatly. But even aside from, those clothing things, there's colors that come into mind when people tend to think of my brand. When I was first starting out, I was doing a lot with red, black, and white. And then after, about, a year and a half, I started to just kind of wander away from that, wanted to do something new. And, I went and started doing the, the yellow, black, and white thing. Just, just kind of a real change up, but, it's things like that that I put together for people. We take a, we give them a color scheme. We give them, a personal logo, something that will make them recognizable in terms of branding. If you come to something like their Facebook page, their YouTube channel, whatever it is, and maybe, even put together like some kind of little symbol or icon or emblem that people can remember them by. There's a client I did recently, actually. His name is Dion, and he's like a Chi-Town OG, basically. He's from Chicago, real old school kind of guy. Wears nice collared shirts and slacks and the Dob hat type look. And I put the hat as a part of his logo, because that like he loves that hat, he loves that look. So I incorporated that into his logo, into his branding, and pretty much like that pretty much makes up like his entire well, not his entire, but just a good like the front of his online identity. Stuff like that usually goes for maybe about $4.97. That's like usually just the blog layout and the logo and just that whole makeup. And then if they want like if they want their social media banners done for YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, then there's a little extra for that too. But I mean, that's generally like the prices that I tend to charge for stuff.
Right. And you make a living full time doing art, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's the real point of this, guys. It's like, it doesn't matter what you do. It's like if you do graphic design work, or you do creative work, I mean whatever kind of creative work you do, it's like there is a market out there for you, and there's like there is no I just know this from experience, right? Like, and it kind of, a lot of creative people believe that there's like there's a lot of scarcity out there. You know what I mean? Like, there's like all the people that nobody wants to pay for art, or like everybody undercuts or undercharges, or you know, and don't get me wrong, man, there's shit tons of people out there that expect free or super duper discounted work. And that being said, it's like, you should never price yourself to the point, or like undercut or underprice yourself to the point where like you can't make a living doing what you love.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Balance.
yeah, it's like you've got to know like what you feel comfortable charging, and then at the same time, it's like you want to make a fair price for your customer as well, so that because I know this is that like Rock, you get a bunch of like referral customers, right? And you have repeat buyers, repeat customers, like people that come to you now because first off, you do kick ass work. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty much hands down. But besides that, it's like because of the quality of work that you do, people are proud to show off the work that they get from you. And with that being said, the work that you do for other people basically brings you in more business, because people are going, oh shit, man, like where'd you get that done from? Who'd you get this from? Blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden now, you know, from one person, you could potentially have anywhere from 2 to 3 to 15 to 20 people contacting you going, hey, you did work for such and such. That was really cool. You know, what are your prices? What are your charge? Whatever, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's just how, you know, business works when it comes to being an artist. It's like you have to show off your work, you know. And I know it's there's a thing where you know, you don't want to put your work out there, because it's like, well, what if people critique it, or what if somebody, you know, because and this was a Facebook thread that was going on before, where it was just like, you know, graphic designers on Fiverr, you know what I mean, compared to guys that make a living doing it. And it's like the quality that you get, the difference between like having a happy customer compared to like having a dissatisfied customer who just feels like they just pissed money away for no reason, you know. And it's like, I just know this. It's like I want to make sure if I'm doing work, or I'm doing a project for somebody, or just, you know, selling my own stuff, or creating something, it's like I want to feel good about the work that I do. And then at the same time, it's like I want to feel just as good or better about the price point that I'm selling that work for, and getting paid for it, you know, depending on the project.
Right.
So it's gotta be it's balance. It's balance on both levels, because one of the things that I realized is like and this was years ago, man, when I first started getting into like when I was still in school, right, still in art school before I dropped out for the first, second, or third time. You know, I could always talk, you know what I mean? I always met people, and I didn't have a problem telling people, it's like, yeah, man, I'm an artist and I do this. What I did have a problem with, though, was pricing myself the right way. And I had a real hard discomfort when it came to like, so you like it? Great. You know, and asking people for a fair price that I felt good about, you know, and that was part of the reason why, like, you know, I struggled for a very long time, because for something, you know, I was the discount guy, because I wasn't, you know, to me it was just like, I don't think they'll pay me $500 for that. So how about $100? You know what I mean? And it was just like, but what would happen is somebody would take it up and be like, yeah, man, all right, $100 sounds good. And then I would end up hating the project. You know what I mean? Because it was just like, I'm doing this shit for $100, man, or I'm doing this shit for $50, or I'm doing this for way less than what I should be charged. Yes. And all the original passion, or just like the excitement that I had about the project, suddenly disappeared, because now it's like I'm basically working for free, you know, or I'm just like, and it became and this probably happened to me like maybe a dozen or 2 dozen times, until I was like, fuck that, man, never again. You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing it anymore. I'd rather not do the project and just say that I'm just, you know, if I'm not getting paid what's fair, you know, I'd rather not do it compared to like doing things for exposure, or doing things. You ever? Oh shit, man, who's that guy that does those videos on Facebook? Oh, I can't think of him. The DJ guy. He does really funny like 2-minute videos. but he had a video. It was like late night last night. I was waiting for some videos to upload, and I was watching some of his, and his thing was like, because he, you know, obviously he's a producer and stuff, and he sells beats together. Like, how much for the beat? He's like $1,500. He's like, oh man, come on, what about a deal? What about this? What about that? You know, and it's like but it was funny because when you're new or when you're not like set or confident with what's going on, like you'll usually like barter, you know, or not even so much barter, but like break when it comes to like, all right, man, I'll do. And one of the rebuttals the guy gave him was just like, hey man, free work, you know, like how about this? Because you're gonna get so much exposure because of all because of the work that you do with me.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Like, yeah, it's like, exposure doesn't pay your bills, man.
No, it doesn't. You know what? It's funny you say that, because I've definitely had a few people. They've tried to use that one on me, and actually, like I even gave into it once. It's like, you know, they'll come at you. They'll say like, hey, hey, can I get a discount? Like, dude, like I know a lot of people, man. Like, you know, you do this, like I can make sure that, you know, you get, you get like this much work. Like you do this, like you be getting tons of work from me. Like blah blah blah. Like I've done that time and time again. I've never had anybody come through really. Like I've had maybe one person. Actually, no. Let me think about this. Out of everybody who I've actually done that for, it does pay off. I can't entirely say that it doesn't, but there are a lot of people who are basically just like Josh and you. Like they're not like they're saying that just to get the discount. But they have no real promote. What's that?
Just to get the one-time discount, and then
yeah,
you know,
they have no intention of promoting you. They have no intention of helping you get more business. They just want the discount, and some of them might even just want to see if they can get it from you, if they can barter you down. But like they don't, you know, they're not really the type who are looking to, you know, to promote you like they say they are. But on the opposite end, there are people who what I've found, the people who will actually promote you are the people who say it afterward mostly.
right.
So it's like you get the commission from them. You see what it is that they want done. You do a really good job of it, and they're so pleased with it that anytime somebody asks, like, "Hey, does anybody know, like, you know, a good graphic designer? Like, I need a logo done, I need a flyer done, this, that, or whatever." You will like for me, you know, I basically find like anytime somebody asks this question, and it's somebody like either if it's not somebody on my friends list, it's at least somebody who I have mutual friends with. They plug my name just immediately, you know, on somebody's comments. They tag me immediately. Like, and I've seen time and time again, because of you know, just because of executing this right, the power that comes with doing this. I've seen like people, like you'll have a list of comments really when somebody asks a question like this. Anytime you get this question, you will have like tons of comments come up more than likely, especially if that person is well connected enough. But to see your own name come up multiple times by different people on that same thread versus other people whose names may only come up one time, it says a lot. Even if your name only comes up maybe about 2 or 3 times on that thread, if you're basically outscoring the competition, in you know, for lack of a better term, it says a lot. And people pay attention to that. The people especially who post things like that, they pay attention to that when somebody gets mentioned multiple times. You know, they'll contact you. They'll see what it is that you're all about. Now, unfortunately, most of those people, you know, who have made posts like that, who I've seen my name dropped into their threads, you know, they tend to be looking for discount work as well. But you know, that's a whole different story there. That's like there's something about a lot of up and coming entrepreneur types, especially like in the online space. They love to cut corners when it comes to pricing, when it comes to, you know, what they pay people. And I think a lot of that has to do with stuff like Fiverr, because Fiverr and you know, like Fiverr and Odesk and a lot of other although I think Odesk got changed to something else, but you know,
Yeah, something else.
yeah, but regardless, you know, like sites like those two alone, they've really kind of distorted, if not spoiled, the mentality of people when it comes to things like design and really just a lot of media related stuff in general, because people now have like this very microwave mentality when it comes to doing stuff like this, at least from what I've seen. It does depend on what niche you're talking about, but at least in terms of, you know, most of the people who kind of run in the same circles as you and I, you know, they get into the habit of, you know, just kind of expecting like quick turnaround for that, you know, like it's just supposed to happen in a day, you know, and they just kind of don't understand that, you know, depending on who you are, depending on your resources, you may only have just you. You may not have like a team of graphic designers. You know, you may not have like some kind of firm in place that handles stuff like that. So it doesn't always work like that, where you're just getting stuff like, you know, within 24 hours. But sites like Fiverr and, you know, people doing really quick little half-ass jobs give people the impression that it will always happen like that. They don't take stuff like that into account.
Right,
Um,
right, right. What's even funnier about that, too,
like
with the results thing is like, if you, I just know it's like a work of art is a work of art, and nothing good comes in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? If you want a 5 minute job, you know it's gonna be a 5 minute job. You know, if you want something that's well thought out or whatever. Although that quick thing that you worked up was pretty kick ass, but I think that was just because we were vibing. But actually the shit that was phenomenal, to tell you the truth. Now let me ask you a question, like, because I know that a lot of people ask me this too. Do you always get paid before you do the work, or do you take a deposit, or do you wait till the end to wait for payment?
no, you pay me in advance.
Well, what's funny is too is I know this, but I just wanted to hear you say it. And what's even better about it is, like, you pay me in advance, and there's also a disclaimer on Rocky's site that says your job may take up to 4 weeks for me to finish. So be patient.
It's two. It's 2 weeks.
Or 2 weeks?
But yeah.
Okay, 2 weeks.
But sometimes it might take up to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is largely dependent on things like workload and also just sometimes inspiration, because depending on how you approach things like design, like I've noticed there's really two types of people at the very least when you talk about graphic design. You have the people who they do it because, you know, they know how to use programs like Photoshop and put stuff together, and they might know how to make something that's fairly presentable. It may not be particularly stellar, but technically it gets the job done. These are usually the kind of people that you might find giving you stuff on Fiverr. It's the really quick work type people. Those who just, like, you know, they can promise you maybe like 1 or 2 day turnaround, but the quality isn't guaranteed to be like just super awesome. Now, there are some people who have done stuff for so long and so often that they can give you high quality stuff. Like I've seen people, you know, they can do high quality stuff like on the level that I do in much less time. And it's like you can clearly see like they probably don't do anything else, or at least for maybe like a 3 to 6 month period, they didn't do anything else. That's all they did. They did it to the point where they were just like masterful at it. And they just kind of have like a set formula too that they go about with it. You know, me, I'm more of like an artist type. If you know our friend Bruce, Bruce is kind of the same way. You know, Bruce and I, we have like, you know, an understanding with each other in terms of graphic designers, because we take it kind of more from an artist perspective. Because the thing is, like, if you're just a designer, and in a sense also more of a constructor, where you really just construct, you know, graphic design and graphic design materials like logos or banners or whatever it is, then the process may be a little more streamlined for you. But at the same time, it, you know, I've seen with those types, their quality of work isn't always that great. It's just, you know, it's either half-ass or it's pretty much acceptable. And you know, there are those few who, you know, who can put out something in a short amount of time and it looks pretty good. You know, it's not like particularly thorough or eye-catching, but it's clean, it's professional, it gets the job done. And there are some people that that I know are really just kind of copy and paste with it too. Like they'll take maybe like PSDs from different sites that have like different layer effects, different layer styles or whatever, and then they just kind of like fit stuff in where it needs to go. You know, they're not really like the imaginative type so much. They just know what tends to look good together, and they just kind of take different sources and, you know, they mix stuff in where it just works. And then there's the types more like Bruce and myself who take the more artistic approach, and we want to make sure that you are getting quality work. We want to make sure that you're not getting just some, you know, just some Fiverr junk that could just be shelled out in 30 minutes or less, you know, even an hour. Like occasionally I might come up with something that's really good looking in an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, you know, but sometimes, you know, the ideas, like, they have to flow. They have to be there. And if you take it from an artist perspective, you know, you might understand what it means to just kind of have all that in sync. Because if you don't, then, you know, you're just gonna hit walls. You're gonna hit creative blocks, and it's not gonna flow the way that you need it to, in order to really put out something that's not just professional looking and stands out, but is also unique. Because that is really something that I go for myself. I usually try to, even if I have similar design elements going on in, you know, like maybe in a set of 5 different Facebook banners, they could be for 5 different clients, and they could technically be all structured the same way. Because in a sense, you kind of want to do that sometimes, depending on how you do it, just because of, you know, like you want to design around Facebook's interface, because, you know, you got your profile picture that's kind of like right in front of where your banner would be. So you might have like sort of a set template to ensure that none of your wording is like hidden behind that you don't want it to be hidden. But even with that, like, you can still do things that will make each one of those banners look different from each other. Even if they all have like the same basic layout, there's different elements you can put into there. Like there's, you know, there's scenery elements, there's colors, there's, you know, of course, different person's face who might be on that banner. If you have a picture of that client, you know, if they want their picture on there, that can, of course, make things look different. There's, you know, just different themes altogether, different fonts. There's all different kind of stuff that you can mix and match that can still make the same layout look entirely different just at first glance.
Right. But now, what's funny is, for those of you guys that are watching this, if you realize anything, Rocky takes a lot of time to make sure that he gets the shit right, but you could also tell that he's done the research to make sure You know, because anybody that talks of it, like if you do graphic design work or if you do design work, if you do anything, like you know that you have to have certain templates for certain things to work. You know what I mean? You know that they're going to be, you know, certain size specs or whatever that you work from. It's not just some like throw some shit up on the wall and see if it looks good. You know what I mean? Like literally, you've been doing what you do now for so long that you basically got it down to a science. Where you know more or less when somebody throws a project at you, you know it's like, all right, cool. So this is what we're offering. This is what we got. This is the price. And by the way, before I get any work done, I need payment up front, and then you will be guaranteed delivery within X amount of time. You know, and not the other way around. which I think a lot of people need to hear and need to understand, because I've seen a lot of people get really screwed over on work because they don't charge up front, you know, or even like, you know, maybe they'll do a 50% deposit or something, and then they never get paid on the other half. And I just know this, guys, like this whole thing, this whole channel, this whole course, this whole everything is based towards artists to make sure that you guys, you know, get the knowledge that you need to get, as well as, you know, feel comfortable and learn how to price and feel good about what you're doing, you know, and take what you're doing well.
Yeah.
So here's a question. How do you market yourself?
That is a good question. That is a very good question.
Because I know a lot of people out there struggle with how do I sell my services? How do I sell myself? How do I get people to buy anything from me?
Right. Well, from my experience, the first thing you have to do is determine where you can find buyers. You have to determine who's looking for what you have. You have to find where they are, and then you just have to pretty much get yourself out there. Now, for me, the way that it kind of worked out was, you know, I got sponsored into a team that was in need of services like that. So in a sense, you know, this kind of played out in my favor. A lot of it just kind of like fell into place, if you want to call it that. But the experience nonetheless taught me the power of being viral in a sense, because this goes along with basically how I got to the point where people just drop my name in comments on Facebook threads just on a regular basis. Now you have to first figure out where you can find buyers. You need to figure out who needs it exactly. Then it's also good to figure out what kind of going rates are generally considered like fair or standard in terms of the work that you're providing. So in a case like me, for example, I provide branding services in terms of consultation, but I'm more well known for, you know, providing branding services in terms of graphic design, in terms of social media banners, in terms of personal logos or corporate logos or team logos or product logos, whatever it is. These are things that, you know, my name has become synonymous with. And you have to look at what most people are paying, maybe like over here, and then maybe, you know, like on the low end, and then look at what people are paying probably on the higher end. Now, what you'll find is that even the people who are making the most money, who need whatever services that you have, they may not likely be going to the higher end people, even though they can afford it. Because the thing is, because they're business minded, they're probably trying to not spend more than they feel like they need to. You know, they probably want to put their money into other things for better ROI. But at the same time, they may not be particularly satisfied with the low end stuff. So if you come in, the thing is, the main thing you also need to be is good at what you do, because even even when you like, this is basically how it all laid out for me. Um, One thing I noticed very early was that everybody in our little community, in our little circle, our little network of people that you and I pretty much just kind of know,
Yeah.
and be online for the most part,
Yeah.
pretty much all these people are used to a certain level of work that they tend to get from the low end people, and they don't go to the high end people because most of them haven't made enough to really pay for that. And then even if they have started to make more, they still don't want to pay that much because, like, and that, like that can be for a number of reasons. Some of them might just be cheap. Some of them just might be unsure if they're actually going to get a good ROI, or if it's even going to be worth it, or if it's even necessary to spend this much, because the price difference from the low end versus the really high end could be almost exponential. And it may not seem like a really smart investment at the time, especially when there are other things that need to be invested in for whatever it is they're trying to do, whatever it is they're trying to promote. So they won't be so quick to go to the high end stuff. But if you can show up and show yourself to be more attractive, basically, than the low end people, you don't have to charge the low end prices because, again, depending on the level of work you're doing, it will likely take longer than the low end people anyway. Hell, the high end people may only give so much of a higher grade of work in comparison to the lower end, but maybe because, they know a few things that the low end people don't, or they do a few things that the low end people don't do that make a noticeable difference, at least in the work, then they try to justify a higher price point. But if you can at least show up and put yourself right in the middle as being better than the low end in terms of your quality and better than the high end in terms of your pricing, and especially if your level of work is comparable to the high end, then you immediately have yourself in demand. And the only other thing that you need to do to put yourself in demand is just pretty much get out there. And the way that it pretty much worked itself out for me was by doing work for the right people. You have to look at, because like this kind of goes back to like, oh, you do work for me, you'll get like, like you'll get so much work, this, that, or whatever. People who tell
Right.
you that, like I said before, they rarely come through with that shit. That's
Right.
usually just hot air. That is usually absolute hot air. There are people I could name who have told me that, but I will not simply out of class. It is absolute hot air most times. But there are people in higher, in just basically like in those higher tax brackets or higher social status, maybe within whatever niche it is that you might want to go after and provide work for. And if you can impress them, they will gladly show off what you gave to them. And obviously everybody who's watching them, because if they're a person of higher status, then chances of them having a decent following are high. And even if they don't have like a large following, if they have a fairly large following, or have a following that's gaining momentum, that's still enough to start the snowball effect. Because you do something for them, they won't be the one to, tell you up front, like, hey, you do this, do really good work for me, and I'll be sure that you get more work, this, that, or whatever. They are the type, like I said, they'll likely say it more on the back end after you do well. They just want, they want to see, for one, how good you're going to do. If anything, you could say with some people, it's even kind of a test, which I'm not entirely sure if, if I agree with. I don't really like the idea of being tested or testing people. But that's just my own moral coding. But, you will, you will find that those people, when you do well for them, they will be a lot more eager to show off the work that you did. And if they have that following, which they likely will if they are somebody of at least fairly high status, um, even if it's not like just in society in general, as long as they have like some kind of higher status in terms of um, just maybe that niche, whatever that community is that they're in most times, where they do most of their work, then their following will see that, and their following will want to know, who did this? I need something of this level too. Who did this work for you? And that's when your name starts to get out there, because then, you know, at least maybe one out of the 3 to 10 people who ask who did this will come to you then directly, and they'll say, hey, I saw the work that you did for such and such. Can you do this for me? You say yes, you provide it to them. And, you know, again, this is when the snowball effect starts to occur. This is when the power of word of mouth starts to damn near take over for you. And the thing is, when you're first starting off to, you know, prices, you know, you can charge, you know, like for me, like I wasn't charging probably half of what I charge now when I first started. Like I think I was charging about the same for Facebook banners and logos, but I was not charging the same for entire blog designs.
Right. But at the same, it's like establish yourself at a certain
right.
So that you could basically then demand the work or demand the price that you felt comfortable with that you deserve to get.
Exactly, because one thing you're also going to see as well is that the more that you get out there, the more and the more people come to you, the more you will have to increase. You're going to have to increase either one of two things, or maybe even both. You're either going to have to increase. Well, actually, there's probably even more than just those two things. But the two main things, you're either going to have to increase your speed, basically, you know, increase your personal productivity, or you're going to have to increase your prices. You're going to have to raise them, because for one, your demand is higher now. So you can justify higher prices, but at the same time, you know, it's still good to keep in mind, don't go too high with it, because you don't want to completely alienate those people who are coming to you as well. And you still want to look like a better offer than those high-end folks who are charging, you know, what would seem like absurd amounts to most people. So, so it really just depends on, I guess, what you're stronger at. Can you, you know, are you the kind of person who can increase your productivity and work faster, but put out still the same level of quality, or at least something really close to it? Or do you need to increase your prices so you can take less people, but still be paid the same amount? And the thing is, either way it goes, you should still be increasing your prices regardless, because once you're in demand, then, you know, you're technically more valuable in the eyes of people. So you have justification to raise your prices now, which of course helps you make a more livable wage to support yourself. Some other things that you would want to, that you might likely have to increase later down the line, depending on, you know, maybe your ambitions or your intentions. You might want to increase your team size. You know, it might just be you as a solo act. You might want to incorporate more people. If anybody, you know, who's watching is familiar with Grant Cardone, there are very few people. Really, I don't think there are any people actually who've ever made like $1 million per se, just as a theoretical example, who've ever made that much without having other people involved somehow. Right. You have to have some kind of small army at least to take in more work, to actually make more money. So you may eventually have to increase team size. You may have to increase you know, things that you kind of do standard, like in terms of maybe things like templates, you know, things like just stock examples. there's a good example of that, which has nothing to do with graphic design. Star Wars, of course, is a very, very popular niche, just in terms of pop culture. And one thing that has become really, really hot, probably over the last 5-10 years, at least from what I've seen, are replica lightsabers. And the Hasbro versions of the replica lightsabers, they have, they're like die-cast metal casings, and instead of the one, the blades that just kind of like flip out, they have like polyurethane plastic, I believe that's what it's called. Like, it's just,
I have one of those. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's not a flip out blade. It's just a long tube, basically, that is illuminated when you turn it on. And there's been higher and higher demand for stuff like this, because of course the Hasbro stuff, for starters, is only going to they're only going to be limited to just the main stuff that you see like in the movies. You're only going to be able to get stuff like Luke Skywalker's saber, or Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber, or Darth Vader's lightsaber. Just like the basic main characters that most of us get familiar with. But there's become a much higher demand for for replica lightsabers, for one, of better quality, and two, that you can actually duel with.
Yeah, duel with, and they're customizable.
Yeah, you have a market pretty much now where you have people who make they make like custom built lightsabers. A lot of them are original designs now too, but the overall makeup is essentially just like the kind of stuff you get from Hasbro, but they kind of take it up a notch. They give you a lot more options in terms of the design of your saber handle. They give you they give you higher quality blades. They give you LEDs that glow brighter. So that way, you can see your blade glow, maybe not just at night, but in the daytime. And then there's one, like, in particular that I came across. They don't even do custom sabers anymore. Like, a lot of these guys out here who do that, they'll take like a custom commission and they'll make a custom design for you. But like, there's one in particular I saw, they don't even do custom stuff anymore because they have so much demand. And at this point, like, everything now is pretty much like just all stock. It's all like just their own stock at this point that they sell. And that is like really just kind of what I'm getting at in terms of like what you might have to do as an artist. You might have to get to the point where you have like, because basically their stock sabers now at this point, because they have at least like maybe 20 on this particular site. Their stock sabers, this is they're just already lined out basically for you to just come and buy. And then their prices are cheaper than a lot of their competition too, so that helps. But they pretty much have like a whole system that's allowed them to expand more and do larger volumes of work. And this is something that artists may have to take into mind as well. Whatever, when you start getting that snowball effect going, you will have to come up with some kind of system that allows you to produce more, but in a shorter amount of time. So you may need to set up certain things so that you can do that, so that you can just kind of already have something set, and then just pretty much like go at it, and then be done in much quicker time frames.
Right on. But basically, just to kind of go back to what you were saying before, when it came to your pricing and everything else, it was like you had a very good understanding of who your market was, right. and basically you understood your customer base almost to a scientific breakdown, to where you knew exactly who you were marketing to, who you were selling to, who was going to buy what you were offering. and then and then basically just like laid it out on the table, and as your work spoke for itself and as your client base grew, you could then raise prices and set the bar and kind of set the standard, because you'd already set the standard with your work. It's like, this is what you can expect when you do business with me. This is what you can expect when you hire me to do something for you. This is the exact level, you know what I mean, or like basically this is what you're going to get. This is the quality level that you're going to get. This is the everything that you're going to get, and then this is the price point that I expect for you to get that quality as well. Pretty much, I think. Okay.
From what I've seen, just with the people who I tend to deal with, a lot of them, they're really they have a lot of zeal or zealous, if I'm saying that right. They're very zealous and enthusiastic about getting themselves out there, marketing whatever it is that they're marketing, but they're not particularly good at presenting themselves like an actual authority, like an actual professional. And when it comes to things like your visual presentation, especially just like your basic graphics that you put out there to people that have your name and your face on it, a lot of these people, they don't have a good understanding of what's going to make them look good and what's going to make them look like professionals, like somebody who people should be listening to, basically. If you take some of the stuff that a lot of them have probably done or have gotten done by other people, people in that lesser quality bracket, and then you compare it maybe to people who are doing it more on a pro level, there's a stark difference there. It's a very noticeable difference in how the pros are looking and how the amateurs are looking. And the thing is, if you expect people to buy from you, if you want people to buy from you, you and I both know the old rule never changes. They have to know, like, and trust you.
Yep.
And now, don't get me wrong, some people, I guess they like that budget look, but truth be told, let's just really be honest about this. A lot of people, they like, like a lot of people, they like pretty pictures, I guess, for lack of a better term. They like stuff that looks good. That doesn't necessarily mean that does, like, that's pretty much everything, but it does make a certain impression on people. When they're first getting to know you, you got to present yourself like, you got to think about it like a job interview. Like, if you were going to a job interview, you're not going to go dressed in jeans and a t-shirt per se, and certainly not in like any clothes that are like worn, like worn or raggedy looking or dirty or just flat out unpresentable. The expectation most times is to wear, a nice suit, if not at least a collared shirt and a tie. So you should have that same mentality when you present yourself to the world. And you have to keep this in mind because of the simple fact that people are conditioned to think this way themselves.
To judge, basically.
Right. Yeah. You could say that. You could probably say that. They are conditioned to judge. It may not necessarily be something they like, but it is mental conditioning that's been going on for a long time now. And it's not likely going to change anytime soon. The thing is, even put it like this. Let's say you are an entrepreneur and you are marketing to a large amount of business professionals, basically the suit and tie type. Obviously, when you take your branding, your visual branding, and how it's presented, you might want to be wearing a suit and tie as well, so that they understand, or at least feel like, hey, this guy's one of us, or hey, I can take him seriously, because he's dressed in a suit and tie. You know, a lot of people actually think like that. So it's good to know like where their head is at. But at the same time, you could take that same approach, but being like, you know, maybe you're like an R&B singer, or you're a rap artist. You're not necessarily going to be dressed in like a suit and tie to appeal to the hip hop culture. Or even if you're like a heavy metal artist, you know, you're not going to be dressed likely in a suit and tie to appeal to the metalheads. You know, and me, I'm a fan of both cultures. I'm one of the few people you'll probably ever meet who listens to like everything. You know, I've been to hip hop shows, I've been to metal shows. You know, I know like what the culture is like. And the funny thing is, regardless of the stark differences just between like those two genres alone, if you look,
they're pretty much the same fan base though. Like when I was throwing parties in New York, we would actually do like combined metal and hip hop shows together. And dude, they would be, I mean, I'm talking about, you want to see the sickest crowds ever. Do a metal band playing live while you got hip hop guys on stage.
I'm sure.
The most, oh my God, it was awesome. But yeah, but it was like,
they go really well with each other. Even though
they really do.
They go really well with each other.
It's the same kind of aggression and swagger almost, in a sense, you know? But but basically it's like you've got to, you know, when you're marketing yourself, when you're doing, you know, when you're out there, you know, more or less like selling yourself to clients or whatever, it's like you want to kind of appeal to them. You know what I mean? It's like, and this is something that I always say. It's like, I don't try to sell to everybody. I try to sell to people that are going to connect with me. You know, because it's like when you can't, at the same time, it's like you can't stop being you just to please everybody. You know, exactly. So it's like, so you've got to figure out what you're doing, what you want to do, what you feel comfortable with, what you feel is basically true to you. And then once that's all figured out, then it's like, okay, cool. So now who do I sell to? And 9 times out of 10, it's basically, it's almost like a mirror image of you. You know what I mean? Like people that are going to fit in with what you believe, what you think, as well as like the work that you do. Because they're going to connect with you on not just like one level, they're going to connect with you on probably like 4 or 5, maybe 15, 20 levels, to where it's like it goes past the client relationship to now it's like they're friends. And because they know, like, and trust you, because now that you've built that bond, it's like they don't have a problem, you know, basically selling for you, to where it's like, oh yeah, I got a friend of mine that does this, you know, and it's like you know, that's basically you just kind of set yourself up for success in that way. You know, I see a lot of people, you know, because they get it caught in their minds where it's like there's only one specific type of person that buys what I create, or that will buy what I create, and you know, and that's just not true, especially like if you're going after a market or a certain area that you don't understand, you know, because you're almost kind of setting yourself up for failure. It's like you got to have that kind of proven track record. It's like, and you got to have the work put in before. Sometimes it's like video games, right? It's like you got to level up to a certain level before you can even like compete against certain characters in a game. You know, it's like if you attack them on level 1, it's like you'll get rocked. But it's like once you get up to like level 15, level 20, level 30, level 40, you know, and you've got that like that you know, you've got all the extra powers and you've got all the extra backup and you've got a team of people and you've got those skill sets that you've now like perfected and honed. You can basically, what's even funnier is like the clients or stuff, or the people that you thought were like impossible to tackle at first, almost like fold, you know, because it's just like, because you've got you're so well connected, or you've got like such a high authority within the group that you do work for, you know, that it's like now it's like they have less of a standoffishness towards you, to where it's like, it's almost like, oh man, I've heard a lot about you. You're like, oh shit, like, you know, but that's cool. People are talking about me, or people are referring me, and it just so happens that we meet now.
Right.
You know, and I just think I think sales in and of itself is a great thing that everybody needs to learn. You know, and it's like once you kind of get over the awkwardness of like selling yourself and you get comfortable, you know, knowing what you do, knowing what you love to do, and knowing what you're comfortable charging, then it's just literally like getting out of the box, getting out of your head, and just getting out there and talking to people and doing what you do and meeting people and just marketing yourself, you know, and and really just kind of like, because there's a lot of people that try to like control it. They're like, I have to do this, or I have to do that, or I've got this dream idea of like what my life is going to be, or like this is what I'm going to do, and this is how it's going to happen. And I think 9 times out of 10, like realistically, it's like on a creative level, when it comes to like your path, it's almost like weird things just kind of like pop in, and you may not even be like expecting it to happen, you know, but like I know like with certain clients, certain customers, like projects, things like that, like they just happen to show up. You know, I'm like, man, I'm really looking for a big project, and it's like, you know, it sounds weird, but it's like opportunity knocks or whatever, but it's just like, oh shit, this just opened up. You know, this person's looking for this, and you're like, oh shit, that's funny because I was looking to do some work too, or hey man, I was looking to sell some stuff too, or hey, I'm actually sitting on a bunch of like art or whatever that I need to that I want to sell. You know, and it's almost like you have to be prepared. It was something that I learned a long time ago. It's like what luck is when opportunity meets preparation, right? It's like you have to be prepared for the success, you know, right. And you have to put the work in, and you have to know what you're capable of doing and what you're comfortable doing. And then at the same time, it's like I just know this from personal experience. It's like I like a challenge, you know, and it's like when somebody throws a project at me or something that I know is like, I may not be 100% comfortable with it at first, where I'm like, shit, man, this is gonna be difficult. But it's like, all right, will this make me better? You know what I mean? It's like, will this make me a better artist? Will this get me more recognition? Will this will this be fun? You know, but it's like, will this get me more recognition? Will this put more money in my pocket? And will this pay off? You know, obviously like right away, but also like down the line. You know, that's just something that I always kind of think about when it comes to every project. It's like you got your bill projects, and then you got your like long-term like growth projects that you're just going to get paid on basically every week, every month, every year, because you've got people that like know your name now. And I think that's very important too. It's like, don't back down from the challenge sometimes of doing something. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, it's like, if you can't do it, don't do it. But it's like, if you know you're capable of doing it, but like the work kind of, you know, because you've done a lot of different stuff for a lot of different people. And I know, like, you know, certain projects have always been, you know, I know certain people have thrown stuff at me where it's like, they've been challenging, they've been this, they've been that. And it's like, but I know like the end result is going to totally justify some of the frustration sometimes. Because it really does. It puts you in an authority kind of standpoint where it's like, you know, my quality, you know, yeah. And now it's like, now I've proven it to myself too. I can value myself more and look anybody eye to eye and be like, listen, this is the work I've done. You know, the stuff I've done, and this is what the price point is. Yeah. So I think that's good, man. I mean, I don't know, like, you got anything else you want to talk about, or I think hopefully this covered some things for some people, you know, because I know a lot of people have a hard time just like selling themselves. And I think what it really just boils down to is like, you have to be open to opportunity. You know, it's like you have to be open and, you know, be willing to accept opportunity sometimes, even though it's like, I just know this. It's like when I'm looking for things to happen, things happen. You know what I mean? It's like when I'm like, all right, man, something's gonna happen this week, something's gonna happen this month. You know, I'm looking for universe. Show me a fun project. You know, it sounds weird, man, but I'll throw that. It's like, show me a fun project, man. Show me something that's gonna make me some money. And miraculously, like, something just like pops into my life where it's like, oh shit, you're making money, and this is fun, and it's got like, you know, a good residual kind of kickback and feedback from it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if that made sense, but I think
No, it made plenty of sense to me.
yeah,
Yeah, I completely.
yeah, yeah. It's like sometimes when you're just looking for things, and this is part of it too. It's like you can't focus so much on the how. You know what I mean? It's just more like you know what you're doing, be confident in what you're doing, and the how kind of like works itself out. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I've always found to be the truth of it all.
Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, because you can't explain the how. You know what I mean? The how just happens, and then you're like, oh shit, it happened.
Yeah,
I don't know how it happened, but it happened.
when
You know?
everything is in line, when you're aligned with what you should be, things they fall into place. And at first, they might even seem like they're falling apart, but that's when they fall into place, and
Yep.
you're just like showered in prosperity, damn near, when it happens, and it's a wonderful thing. But I don't know. I don't know if I really have too much else to say.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered a good amount of stuff, and hopefully everybody watching this got some good value out of it. For those of you guys that you can find Rocky online at Facebook. Was it / Rocky Vega?
It's facebook.com / I'm actually, hold on, I just changed it recently. Changed my domain for my fan page. It is
How do you change the domain for your fan page? Or you just built a whole new one?
no. Well, if they don't allow, like, I think they give you like
they allow you to change the name, right?
Yeah, like they give you limits, I think, on how many times you can do it. But yeah, I recently changed it. It's facebook.com / Rocky V6. Like
Rocky V6.
Yeah, like a V6 engine.
Like the engine?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Nice.
the page has technically not gotten too much attention recently, but that's going to change soon. Just because I've been balancing other projects out, and the page hasn't had the most priority, but that's definitely
Right.
way to reach me if anyone's looking. So
but let me ask you a question though. Like when you weren't slammed with constant work, your page was pretty updated regularly, right?
a little bit, yeah. It's been more of like a place where I would just host portfolio work.
Yeah.
But I'm going to, I'm in a transition of not just having it like as a place for just for portfolio work, but also just for, professional social media presence, some advertising, and also just, just providing valuable content in general.
Fair enough, and that's really what a Facebook page should be. If you're gonna build out a fan page, it shouldn't just be your portfolio. It should have some personality.
Right, exactly. Yeah, personality is everything in branding. And there's projects that are planned, at least 1 or 2 products that are on the way that I'm working on right now. So that page, of course, will promote things like that too. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it.
Right on. Well, hey, brother, I appreciate your time, man.
I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And we're going to call it a night because we've been going on for a while. So, guys, thanks for watching the show, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace, peace.